Hello, my name's Rob Newman and I'm a partner at Carter Collins & Meyer, a firm of accountants in Greater Manchester. Today's short video is why should you consider being a sole trader or a limited company? Now this debate has been going on for 25, 26 years at this stage, and the subtleties around it have changed. 25 years ago, there was one definitive screaming answer to this question, which was always, you'll save loads of tax if you become a limited company. But the tax bands have narrowed massively between it, and the significance that you're going to see in tax is almost nil. Now, I don't do the calculation in this video, you'll be pleased to see, because we want to spare you watching the mathematics of it. But believe me when I say you're talking a couple of £100 of difference. But that doesn't mean one or the other is better. Now there's the other immediate thing of a limited company that's worth considering, limited liability. And personally, I like limited liability. What that means is I can only lose the amount of money that I've put into the company, not every single thing I own. And as if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know where the history of this came from. It came from massive infrastructure projects that took place in the middle of the 1800s in the UK. Now, that's great, but it also creates some other circumstances that are not as good. Limited companies have a lot more administration around them. You've got a lot more things that you've got to send in, a lot more things you've got to do. And with that, it brings costs. But sole traders are not perfect either anymore. One of the big issues coming for sole traders in 2026 is MTD. MTD stands for Making Tax Digital. And this was first announced in, I think it was 2015 now, by George Osborne. The original announcement of Making Tax Digital was that everything was going to be digitalised. There'll be no more paper records for small businesses. Well, that's been watered down massively. But it does mean that you do have to keep electronic things as opposed to having that good old-fashioned 12-column cash book. It also means that you have to send in 5 returns a year to HMRC, not 1. So one of the appeals of the limited company in 2026 is actually cutting the amount of admin that you're going to have to do. Because MTD starts for 2026 as £50,000 of gross income. That's not after expenses, that's your total headline earnings. If you get 50k of money from whatever source it is, and you are a sole trader, you're going to fall into MTD. From 2027, that becomes £30,000. And from 2028, that becomes £20,000. Basically, everybody self-employed is going to fall into MTD and have all of those tax returns to do. And to make that worse, if your sources of income come from different places, you might have even more tax returns to do. So for example, if you're a plumber and you have a buy-to-let house, you've now got 9 tax returns to do a year, every year. Because you've got to put 4 in for the house, 4 in for the plumbing business, and then 1 summary one. Now this is a big paper chase, even though it's not on paper. And it's one of the significant drawbacks of the simplicity that being a sole trader gives you. It's something that you should be doing anyway, is keeping those business records. But if it's at the extent of you having to work all day and all night to then fill in forms that are going to go to HMRC, is that something you really want to do? Now, in that specific example of plumber and buy-to-let properties, becoming a limited company wouldn't necessarily solve all of your problems, because sticking the plumbing business into a limited company is fairly straightforward. But putting that property that you own in your own name into a limited company is an incredibly complicated process, and probably will cost a load of money that you actually probably won't want to spend. So you may well end up being caught in MTD anyway. So if you are looking at the structure of your business in 26, you need to give serious thought to which way round you want to do this. Because it's not all good one way or the other anymore. There's a lot of nuance in how this operates, and there's a lot of things to consider along the way. And I would certainly say to you, in the early stages, in the very first days of it, don't rush straight into a company. Don't rush straight out and buy that pack of paper off the internet and say, I'm now ABC Limited, because it may not work. The business may not actually work for you. It may not be what you thought it was going to be. It may be that with the economy the way it is, self-employment is not something that you can look to do anymore onto it. So if you then need to get rid of that company, it's a really complicated and expensive process, whereas closing down a sole trader is very straightforward. It's a very simple process. There is obviously the risk of that unlimited liability if you're in the sole trader. That problem that if it goes wrong, everything is on the line. It is all yours. But there's ways to mitigate that. There's ways to look at that and control that, which is why I'd urge you, if you're considering setting up either as a limited company or a sole trader in 2026, come and have a chat with someone like myself. Come and have a chat with an accountant that actually looks at this all the time, because the answer is not clear as to which one works. Either which way round, you are going to be pulled into a world of administration. You're going to have to set some time and thought processes aside as to how you're going to organise yourself and how you're going to structure yourself. And I can tell you, that's not what it once was. It's not a case of being able to get a bin bag full of records anymore and have all those things that are on the dashboard of, the tradie vans that I see around Manchester. And if any of you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know that literally weeks ago I posted a picture of that. The tradie sat in Costa Coffee with a massive pile of paperwork on his dashboard. That's just not going to work in either that sole trade or limited company. You're going to have to give thought to how you structure and organise it. Now, doing that blind, doing that just sat down off the internet, if it's not your world, is really, it's not fun. It's not pleasant. Come and get a free consultation from somebody like us, somebody like an accountant that does this all day long, to talk you through, should you be a limited company? Should you be that sole trade? Where should you start? What's the advantages of it? Did you know, for example, that in that sole trade period, in the first year, if you make losses, you can offset it against other income? That's a really important point, because most small businesses do. Their first year or two, they make a loss. If you can offset that against things you've earned as a PAYE employee, you can suddenly generate a tax saving. Now, that's quite a quick, easy throwaway remark to make to somebody on a video like this, but it's that kind of nuance and structure that you'll get by spending a little bit of time at the beginning, sat down with somebody, thought through, this is how we should do stuff here. And I'd urge you, in building that process up, to start documenting what it is that you do. Because one of the most fundamental things of all small businesses that we don't have as owners is, this is how we do stuff here. If you can capture that right from that first decision that you're making to go into it, of this is how we do stuff here, this is how we answer the telephone, this is how we open the post, you're going to be able to grow and build something far better than you ever could if you don't. Now, that specific point is going to be covered in another video I'm going to look at in quite some detail in the future, how to build, grow and structure. And one of the things I'd say to any new startup always is, please go and buy The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, one of the best business books that's ever written. I don't get anything for recommending it, I'm not on commission for it, but it is all about how to take small businesses, grow and develop them. And part of the fundamental decision that you need to make if you are doing that is the structure that you're going to have for your business, the processes that you're going to put in place to it. Are you going to be that limited company? Are you going to be a sole trader? Are you going to be a partnership? Are you going to be an LLP, a limited liability partnership? LLPs are something that most people have never heard of, and I think in the next few years are going to be the way that a lot of small businesses should be organised if there's more than one person involved. They have the tax advantages that actually now come with sole traders and partnerships. They are outside the scope of MTD, but they give the protection that limited companies do. So you can cut your admin quite a bit while still actually getting things that are different. What I mean by different, in a limited company, to be able to claim an expense, it has to be wholly, exclusively, and necessarily for the purpose of that business. Within self-employment, as a sole trader, as a partner, or as an LLP, it has to be wholly and exclusively for the purposes of the trade of that business. That word necessarily isn't there, and that changes things fundamentally. That changes things a lot as to what can and can't be claimed. And it allows things like cars to be treated in a lot more generous way than they would be within limited companies. it means that the admin around expenses is a lot softer than it is within limited companies. And if one of the key decisions that you're going to look at to do in this coming year, if you are either in a business now looking to grow your business or develop it, is that structure. And I would urge you to consider an LLP upcoming rather than just the straight traditional sole trader or limited company routes. So if you want to talk about that, please do reach out. If this video has been useful to you, please do drop a comment below. I do read all of them, I do respond. I live on LinkedIn, so if you want to find me on that, I'm very much there all the time. I post every day. Thank you so much. My name is Rob Newman, and I am a partner at Carter Collins & Meyer.